C.
Okay guys, so this is my first video, so I kind of don't have a clue what I'm doing, but I'm going to try this thing anyway. I had a couple of people on a React Reddit forum ask how I code because I can't see. I'm totally blind and also have a hearing impairment, and so I explained that a little bit, but I thought that it might be cool to actually show that, plus maybe talk about some of the code that I've written also. So I'm hoping that this whole screen capture thing is working. Obviously I can't really tell that because I can't see it, but it says it's recording, and I did a couple test recordings and the audio is coming through. So you'll hear my speech and you'll hear my screen reader. I'm using a screen reader called NVDA for this, which works a little bit better with Visual Studio Code than JAWS, which is the other screen reader that most blind people use. So I'm going to try to show some of this stuff that I've written, and I'll put this up on GitHub as well, and hopefully if I can figure out how to upload this on YouTube, I'll just have a link to it in the video description of the GitHub repository. Basically I'm going to try to create a little Firebase starter project with hooks and have basic authentication and basically a component that would just be like your home component where you would just display things. I don't know if I'll get quite that far in the video. It depends on how long this takes. I have some other things I'm doing this afternoon, so but I will try to make a Git repository of what I'm doing so you guys can see the code. So to talk about a little bit about what I'm using, I have a Braille display here. I guess you can't see it because I don't think the webcam is activated, but there is a device that has little pins that pop up that denote the Braille dots, and it shows what's on the screen, or I can have the software read it to me, which you'll hear about in a minute when I start up Visual Studio Code. So I like to kind of use them both depending on what I'm doing. The Braille display gives me a little bit more fine-grained view of punctuation and things like that. With reading that can be a little tricky. Plus I use Prettier, so the formatting gets shown on the Braille display, whereas the speech doesn't do that very well, because obviously it would be a lot to read if you're reading every space between every brace and bracket and everything like that. But in the Braille it does show it, so it kind of indentation and things like that just does make it a little bit easier even for me to figure out what the heck's going on with my code. So alright, I'm going to launch Visual Studio Code here. I have it set up so that it's pinned to my taskbar, so all I have to do is hit Windows key +1 because I know it's the first icon, and I think it started.
Taskbar C. Debut by settings time. Debut by
not quite. Let me try that again.
Taskbar. New tab Google Chrome.
Whoops.
Address and search bar, and it has autocomplete. Control+L. Taskbar.
Alright, let's try that one. Not sure why that's okay. I'm going to start it the other
Start
way.
window.
I just type in
Visual Studio Code.
There we
Desktop.
go. Okay. So now it will.
Visual Studio
There we
Code.
go. So it's announcing the fact that
Visual Studio
Code
main landmark start.
is launched and in the background, and I'm going to open my
New notification from Google Chrome, comma.
I'm going to open my Firebase startup folder that I have here.
New window. Open folder. Control+K. Control+O F4 of 18.
And those of you who know me are going to be laughing right now because you know that I typically listen to speech a lot faster than that. But I'm trying to be kind of nicer to the people that might be watching this that might not be blind, that might not be used to hearing synthetic speech, but yes, normally I listen to speech probably about twice as fast. So, okay, so I'm going to...
Start new file, open folder, dot, dot.
Okay.
Selected Firebase-Starter. Welcome Visual Studio Code document.
Okay.
Firebase.
Now I already cheated and I already installed the Firebase SDK via NPM, and I installed React Router because what app doesn't use React Router these days? And I think I installed something else, but I can't remember what it was. So it'll be in it'll be in the Git because it'll be in the package.json, obviously. Actually,
note.
I can just bring up
level 1 node line modules collapse.
So I just brought up the Solution Explorer and I
public collapsed package dash lock.
Whoops.
Package dash.
No, not that one. I can bring up the
Firebase node line modules public sr dot package dot sin6.
Yeah, I can bring up the package.json so you can see what I installed.
Quote name quote colon.
Okay, so I can read in the braille display now. I guess you can't see what I'm doing, but I can scroll through and read. You might be able to see my cursor moving, I'm not sure. It's moving. I'm not touching the keyboard, but it's moving from line to line here. So I can see that I installed the Firebase, obviously React, React DOM, React Router DOM, React Scripts, React. Yeah, okay, that's all I installed then. Okay, so I have a Firebase
package readme.md package
folder here.
Dot get me s level 2 x level 3 config.js 1 of 5.
Okay, I have the config.js, which will not be in the Git repository. That is the configuration. If you're familiar with Firebase, you know that when you add an app, it gives you a JSON object that you just copy and paste into your source code. I guess you could use .env variables as well. I chose to just copy and paste it into a config file and keep that out of the, use a git ignore to keep it out of the repository. I've read in some places where that's not necessary to keep it out of the repository, but I think it's good practice, and Git yells at you if you don't. Found that out the hard way when I moved it and on another project and ended up checking it in, but that's another story.
Firebase-hooks.js 2 of 5.
This is the Firebase hooks that I started to write. We can open this up here.
Firebase-hooks.
Okay, so I'm importing...
Import left brace use effect, comma.
Use effect and use state from React, which are two of the new hooks. Use effect allows you to run things that will affect the DOM or things that you don't want to run all the time, but that I'm not explaining this very well, but it'll do things other than just return functions. So it'll do things that will affect other things in your code. And use state is, if you're familiar with React, you know about state. So this is not necessarily a beginner tutorial. This is more what I've done. Okay, so
export cons use auth state equals auth equals.
Okay, so yeah, this is I'm using the auth state event in Firebase, which is a event that runs every time the user's authentication changes. So, if somebody signs in or signs out, this function will run. So, Okay, so the first thing I'm doing is I'm setting this user state. So I have user and set user. So I'm declaring some state and I'm setting it to an item in local storage if it exists. So I'm storing the user in local storage, and what this does is it prevents the app from rendering twice, because if it's already in local storage, it'll pull it, and if it's not in local storage, if they're signing in for the first time, it will set it there later. So I have a console.log. It's just sort of there for debugging purposes. And then I have a use effect that's running, and in which I'm setting up the auth state event. So I'm saying if there is a user, the Firebase user is the user that has changed. So if it's signed out, it would be null, and if it's not signed out, then it would be the user that signed in. So it's pulling off just the information that I need, which is the user ID and the display name. There's a whole bunch of other stuff in there. I mean, you could pull some other things too, like the photo URL and things like that. I'm not really interested in that kind of stuff. Haven't been, at least.
4 tab if left pair.
Okay, so I'm saying if the user that I get from local storage is not equal to the user from Firebase,
5 tab set user left parent.
I set that state so that it will cause the app to re-render, because the state has been set, so it will cause a
5 tab locals.
And then I have setting the local storage to that as well, so that in the future, if they try to sign in, it'll only render once. So, if they're already signed in, if they come to my app, it would only render once instead of twice, because it will already be there.
4 tab tab right brace. 4 tab console.log.
They signed out. Have a console.log, and then I have it saying to remove the item from the local storage, so it's not there anymore, because they're signed out, so they'll need to sign back in again. So that's my use auth hook. The only thing that I could add, and if anybody wants to add it, they could add a something where it would go and grab, say, from a user's collection, any additional information that you might want to store about a user, like, I don't know, any information that your app might need, like permissions or anything really, and merge that with the Firebase info to create like a super user object. I could do that, I just haven't done that yet. So that's my Firebase hooks.
Firebase.
And I know there was one that I saw on NPM that was that did sort of the same thing, but it didn't store it in local storage. It just, which I don't know if that extra render is a huge deal, but to me it just seems kind of pointless to render something twice when you could just render it once. So the Firebase
user.js.
The Firebase.
Firebase.js.
This is the class. It's like a singleton object that just initializes the app, and it imports the config file that I showed you earlier. It imports app and auth and Firestore, and in the constructor, it just initializes the app. I'm hoping you can see where my cursor is, so you can see what I'm pointing at. If not, hopefully you can at least see the file. If not, you can look at it on GitHub. Comment and let me know what you guys see. I'm kind of curious because, like I said, I've never done anything like this before. I don't know if I'll keep doing this stuff, but I thought it'd be kind of cool to sort of create my own little tutorials here. So that's pretty self-explanatory.
Firebase user.js.
Firebase user is another component that I created here, and this is using the context API from React. And basically what the context API does is it allows you to create a context. Each context has a provider and a consumer. You can read about this in the React docs, but I'm trying to explain it because I had a little trouble grasping it. So basically, you have a provider component, and then anything inside that provider component will be able to consume that context. Well, with the use context hook, you don't need the consumer component. You just say use context and whatever the context is that you provided, and it will search the closest provider in the component tree. So, okay, so what this does is it imports my hook that I
import
created.
Firebase context.
It imports the Firebase context, which will be wrapped around the app component, so that the Firebase only gets initialized once. So this Firebase user would be something you would put inside your app component. So and anything else would go underneath that. So what this does is it imports the Firebase context so that it can pass that to my offstate hook to get the user information.
Import user context from tick./user context tick.
The user context is
const Firebase user equals props equals greater left brace.
Okay, so what it's saying
tab
here,
const Firebase equals use context left parent Firebase context right parent semi.
Firebase from my Firebase context.
Tab console.log left parent Firebase right parent. Tab const user equals use auth state left parent Firebase.auth right parent semi.
It's grabbing the user from the auth state hook. So if it's in local storage, it'll grab it. If not, it'll run that event and grab it.
Tab return less user context dot provider val.
Okay, so what this is returning then is returning the user context dot provider, and the value is equal to the user that we defined earlier that has that we got from my hook. So, and then this is kind of neat. So it's returning that provider, and then it's doing a props.children here. You'll see, I just put my cursor on it if you can see that. So what that means is it's going to render the provider component, and then the props.children, I don't think that's a great name for it. I mean, I see why they did it that way, but what that means is that we'll render anything between the opening and closing tags of the Firebase user component. So anything inside the opening and closing tags of Firebase user will be underneath of the Firebase user.context, which means that you will be able to get the value of that. I mean, not Firebase user context, which means you'll be able to get the value that's from the provider here. So, like in my app component, I can wrap everything in a Firebase user. It's basically a wrapper for the context here. So, I think it just makes things a little bit easier.
User context.js 5 of 5 level 3.
Probably didn't even need to put this in a separate file.
User context.js.
All this is doing is
const export default user context const user
using React.create context to create the context that you exported in the other, that you used in the other file. So I did a horrible job of explaining the context API. So if you need some help with that, you can look that up on the React documentation. It's a little bit easier, I think, if you see it in writing than if you try to listen to me explain it. But I tried. Hopefully I'll get better as I do these more. Okay, so
Level 2 app.js.
My Firebase folder.
App.test.
So what we
Level 1 SRC expand collapsed.
In the index file.
Expanded. Index.cs. Index.
Okay.
Index.js. Import React dump. Import tick./in. Import app from tick./ import stars React blank / if you want your app to work on / on / service blank 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 React dom.render left parent.
Okay, here we go. Okay, so this app, we're in here. I'm going to start typing Firebase.
Item Firebase.
Context.
Item app.
Provider.
Item prom comma ducks.
I don't think this is going to work because I don't have all the inputs yet, but I'll get there. There we go.
Callback
and
question.
I'm typing this on my braille display actually, so I can type on my braille display in braille, and it will actually put it into the machine as if I was typing on my keyboard, which is kind of cool.
R. Item Firebase context comma ducks colon null.
I think that will work. Let's see, delay. Firebase. Oh, right. Firebase context. Yeah, let's see what the problems are here. I can do a Control-Shift-M and it will read me.
Note. Level 1, 4 problems in file. Level 2 error generated by SLint : parsing error : unexpected token 5 bar import star as service worker from tick.
It doesn't like
index.js. Text file editor comma group 1 . Edit has autocomplete multi-line. React dom.render.
Yeah, okay. There we go. Let's see if Prettier will format it now. Let's see if that looks better.
Note. Level 1, 3 Level 2 error generated by SLint : parsing error : adjacent JSX elements must be wrapped in an enclosing tag .
Okay, what doesn't it like now? It doesn't like... Oh, it doesn't like the lowercase p, probably.
P.
Alright, try that.
Note. Level 1, 4 problem. Level 2 error generated by SLint : parsing error : expected corresponding JSX closing tag for less Firebase context. Provider greater 5 bar index.js.
It doesn't like now. It doesn't like... Oh.
U.
There we go.
Note. Level 1, 4 problem. Level 2 error generated by SLint : parsing error : expected corresponding JSX closing tag for less Firebase context. Provider greater 5 bar import index.js. Text file editor.com.
Yeah, uppercase P.
P.
I always get tripped up with capitalization for some reason.
Note. Level 1, 3 problem. Level 2 error generated by SLint : parsing error : adjacent JSX elements must be wrapped in an enclosing tag. Did you want a JSX fragment less greater ... index.js. Text file editor. Group 1. Edit has autocomplete.
Alright, I'm not sure why that... Oh. Yeah, that's why. Alright. I don't need that.
Less. P.
Oops.
Greater. P. Greater. P. Item abort controller, ducks : interface abort controller var abort controller :
I don't know why it's reading that. Must be either part of the IntelliSense that came up or something. Alright.
Note. Level 1, 2 problems in Level 2 error generated by SLint : tick Firebase context tick is not defined.
Yeah, okay.
Error generated by SLint : tick Firebase tick is not defined.
Yeah, okay. So maybe easy to fix.
Index. Import React from tick React tick semi.
Okay, import.
Item import. Item F.
M.
Firebase context.
Item star.bm. Item Firebase user, ducks : made 2 formatting edits on line 2. Drive.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, when I type in Braille, sometimes I get weird typos because I'm not using the regular keyboard. Alright, so let's see if I think that works.
Item import state. Item. Import React. Import app from tick.1:36.
Okay, so I think it's running fine now. Let me see if I can launch this thing.
Micro.
Firebase starter.
C. Dev.
npm start.
Greater Firebase starter at 0.
And it's compiling.
Starting the development server. Mozilla Firefox. Mozilla Firefox. Unknown. Mozilla Firefox. Alert trending on r/react just rethinking hot reloading. React app.
Okay, there we go.
Frame failed to ./src/in. Attempted import error. Firebase context is not exported from ./firebase/firebase. npm index.js index. Import React from import left brace Firebase context right brace from.
M.
Alright, let's try that. I think that's better.
React. This error module not found. Can't resolve. /firebase context and C. Dev Firebase starter src index.js index.j logo.s in level 1 src level Firebase dash hooks Firebase user dot user context dot level 2 app Firebase user dot Firebase.js 3 of 5 level 3 Firebase blank export default Firebase context semi.
Okay, what did I...
Firebase level 2 Firebase expanded collapsed index.cs index import React from tick React import left brace Firebase context I.
Oh, I know when I put it in braces and I didn't need to.
Space show
Probably what it was.
Space.
Okay. Get rid of this context off of here.
C.
React app message. React frame open your browser. This screen is visible. HT anonymous function. Button 35 var result. Time type error. Firebase Webpack imported module 1. Default is not a constructor. Index.js file. Import React dump import Firebase from tick./Firebase tick semi. I
think I do need to put that in braces.
showing made 2 formatting edits on line 3. React. This error occurred. Attempted import error. Firebase is not exported from ./Firebase/Firebase. Index level 1 src expand level 2 Firebase collapsed 1 of x level 3 config.j Firebase dash hook Firebase.j Fire import React import blank export class Firebase left brace.
Oh, capital.
Index.
Time.
I
left. And now we probably need
import
to do...
React tab less Firebase context dot provider value equals left
new
F. No problems have been detected in the works. React app message. React banner landmark visited link learn React visited link.
So yeah, so now that it's not compiled, or now that it's not giving me any errors, if I open in developer console,
App in developer tools frame out of edit app log app initialized link Firebase.js 10.
yeah, okay, so now I had to log in my class. It says the app was initialized, so I think I'm going to stop the video right here. There's a lot of other things maybe I will do later. If this works out, I'll go through adding a sign-in component and a navigation component, and then trying to do the rest of this starter kit thing. But this is my first crack at this whole thing, so if this thing blows up, then I might not. But if you think I'm on the... Now you have a little bit better idea of how I actually code and what I used to code and how it all works. So, and hopefully you'll learn to do your capitalization better than me, so you won't have the same errors that I got. So, if this is helpful in any way, let me know. If not, then I won't do any more, but it was kind of fun. So eventually, like I said, I'll put all this stuff up on GitHub. It is available a lot of this code I pulled from one of my other projects. But I'll put a link to that in the video description, assuming I can figure out how to get this thing up on YouTube. So anyway, bye for now.